Deadlock Night Shift number 28 coming at you for an evening of festivities, be it in Europe, and then we move, of course, into the Americas later on down the line. Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, once again to more Deadlock goodness. My name is Kalaris, your cheeky host, once again, for some reason, still back somehow, some way. I've got Jake, I've got ZP. We're having a good time once again. Jake, I'm happy to be back with you. You were on North America last time, and I was like, oh, where's my Jake? Even though you were observing the games, you're doing all the things, man.
I'm just, assembling my Infinity Gauntlet, doing every single job in esports. I'm not there yet, but we'll keep grinding someday. Someday I'll have truly done it all. But yeah, I'm glad to be back. I'm excited for EU this week. I think it was a lot of fun watching last week's show. So I'm excited to maybe cast some shenanigans. I hope Abrams gets a little bit wild again.
Yeah, oh, they got wild last time around. That 7 was not something I was expecting. ZP looking at how they're going to be playing things out today as well, alongside maybe Leviathan going up against them, or maybe even a newcomer to what's going to go on here for the trio of the 3 teams for Europe.
Yeah, so to give you the lowdown on what to expect here, No Mercy was a team we were looking to get involved in the future. We heard very good things about the results on the Scrimbuck hotline. It wasn't going to be this week, but I wake up yesterday, look at my DMs, and get told Lowkey W is dead, but here we will help you find a replacement. And thankfully, the EU community is very good about assembling people around. And No Mercy was going to say, hey, we will take the spot. It is totally fine. We didn't actually know until like this morning. They had to actually go around, ask players to maybe move around some work things. But hey, all that matters is that behind the scenes, it got there. And on the show day, you're none the wiser, except for the fact we just told you everything. So there you go.
Yeah, fair. I mean, a little bit of a shame that Lowkey W's kind of had a little bit of an implosion here, Jake. I was excited to see how they were kind of rivaling up against Leviathan, especially in these last recent 3 weeks, I would say, or so. But, we'll end up seeing, no doubt, some of their players back, be it on Lowkey W or wherever they may fall, right?
Yeah, it's how it goes, right? Like, this is still early days in Deadlock esports, and so I think for me, you don't want to get too attached to any of the particular teams themselves, right? This is just that primordial ooze of Deadlock esports that someday will form up into more cohesive squads. But for now, I understand, it's hard to be consistent, and for anyone else than the top dogs in each region. Which has allowed them to build a real gap, a real difference maker over the rest of the field. That being said, they're on attack every week, as we saw last week. And even Abraham's getting maybe a little bit silly with the Ulti 7 build from Demov, but a lot of action, a lot of question marks, especially to bring in new players. But hey, in the past, a lot of times we brought in some of these new teams. There's been either teams or players that really make an impression on us. So eyes on No Mercy, a lot of pressure on them for their first time dealing.
Yeah, a lot of pressure potentially going up against Leviathan. But let's talk about all of our patrons that join us here for the Deadlock Night Shift as well, ZP, because we got plenty of names to talk about here, making this happen. And don't forget as well, if you're donating throughout the night for Europe or North America, all of those proceeds will go to the prize pool as well. So ZP, talk to me about our lovely patrons.
Yeah, I mean, the show probably would not be able to happen without the support of our patrons. This is a full community-funded program, and it's just been great to have the support of so many in the community to help run this week in and week out, both from things like Twitch subs and the Patreon, but also, of course, donating directly to the prize pool, to make things a little bit better for the players. Also, I'm going to steal a bit from Jason and call out one of our residents here on the channel, and I don't know if I've called it out before, but I'm going to give a shout to Shiv's wife, because apparently, ladies, he's taken.
I love that.
I didn't know there was Shiv's wife in there. How about you, Jake? Who are you picking for the shout out?
Oh, I gotta give some love to SK, $25 night shift manager. Much appreciated, SK, friend of the show, personal friend of mine. So cool to see her playing a lot of Deadlock and streaming it too, like watching the process of somebody getting into the game and really loving it is always, I think, a really exciting thing. Is, for some of us who've been playing now for a couple of years and are like maybe a little bit hardened, it's cool to see, like the new members joining the community, all the excitement. I mean, there's so many new faces in the community right after this latest update. I'm just excited for that process to continue. I can't wait for this game to get released and for more and more people to come join the community. So it's great to see that, and the community showing up and supporting us on whether it's Patreon, whether you're able to be a Twitch subscriber or a YouTube member, or even just watching the show week in, week out and letting your friends know about it. It all makes a huge difference to us. It all allows us to build this grassroots esports scene. I mean, this is kind of the way esports used to be, is all like this. But, it's not what you see so much anymore, right? Typically, we're, much bigger stakes, developer-funded tournaments. But for now, I think Deadlock's just that game that has that unique mix of the passion, the competition, the esports DNA, and also just the people who desperate to put on an esports show and make it happen like us. So happy to be here, and I'm really glad the community is enabling us to do so.
I totally agree. Every Wednesday night, it feels like everyone kind of gathers round the hearth for a Deadlock, and everybody, be it people actually co-streaming everything that's going on, ZP, be it people coming in and subbing and supporting everything as it does go on here. For now, it's a small scene, but it's a very tight knit scene so far, ZP.
Yeah, and it has actually made running these things really easy. I listen to people that run tournaments for other games, and you get various different, complaints or troubles. And, even when we ran an open tournament in Deadlock, going back to the trolley tournament late last year, the players were a joy to deal with. And let me tell you, if you've done a reasonable amount of comp ops in various different games, that is not always the case. So, a lot of people that get together and be like, you know what, let's try and put on something good, for the betterment of the whole. Will it stay that way? We'll see. But, for now, it's been a nice place to be.
Yeah, definitely. So, of course, a big thank you to the board members that were always at the top there. And I wanted to pick out a name. Third Place Dog, down towards the bottom. I like finding the weird names. Third Place Dog, you're an awesome guy. And actually, now that I think about it, last week, AJ upgraded live to the $100 tier as well. So that was very cool to see as well. If you upgrade and we get wind of it, throughout the show, we're going to give you a shout out as well. So that is very, very fun and very cool. Big thank you to all the subscriptions coming in. There's a lot of subscriptions coming in right now. Neon MV coming on in. Base Trice coming on in. Roger Dynamite, big name. I like that.
That's a name. That's a name with power right there.
Yes, 100%. Jake knows what he's talking about. Yes. So yes, keep those subs coming in and rolling on in as well. I do believe that if you guys hit 1,200 subs, that you will be releasing that Abrams skin as well. Jeez Louise, I'm doing all the janitorial work today. I'm sweeping up the floors.
He's cleaning everything. The house is spotless right now, Dolores.
Oh, lovely. All right, well, let's talk about the priorities from last week, of course, because we have, in terms of picks, some shifts here and there. It's suffice to say, though, ZP, 7 was still that big, strong mainstay up towards the top. We saw some Celeste here and there, quite a few bans here and there, but,
Oh my God, we Celeste just getting
I need to clarify. I really need to clarify this. It was actually 7 bans for Celeste because, as we found out post-show, there was a gentleman's agreement to not pick or ban Celeste in that first EU Challengers match. So it was a full 7 ban for Celeste. The character has basically been deemed by the competitive community as, if you let this through, you will lose. But the things you shouldn't be surprised at is the part where frontliners still come at an extreme premium. I don't expect that to change today. And also Venator went way up in priority because teams have actually realized, wait, if you're looking for a mouse 1 that also has ridiculous utility and like really good kill potential, both close and long range, Venator's your guy right now.
Jake, your thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, one interesting thing that jumps out to me is it's not in the first pick phase, but you look at Paradox, got picked in all 7 matches, doesn't seem to be valued enough to take bans off the table or even go in first pick phases. However, you look, the other initiators, it's like Holiday, Bebop. Bebop's the next most picked initiator, right at 3. Arguably, Lash and Mo are a similar category, but Hayes and Holiday 1 pick each. So Paradox seems to be on top of the bullet for that initiator role. I wonder if that won't translate into more pick priority, or if we won't see more teams really developing the way they play without the Paradox, right? And it feels right now like for a long time it was Holiday or Paradox, one or the other, and now things have really shifted with characters like Bebop, Lash, and Mo maybe filling that void a little bit more effectively. I think that's always an interesting spot for me to watch. Also, the carry role, Warden and 7 being picked twice, Warden being picked twice. And at one time, these are pretty strong carries, and Furnace only getting 1. So the carry role seems to be really dominated right now by Venator and, other Mirage, really, right? It's just like your debuff carries, maybe playing Mina as the sort of semi-carry for a faster tempo draft. So I feel like the meta's consolidating. I'm excited to see a new balance patch come, but I'm also excited to see who can refine this the most and deliver us the best performances here on Night Shift.
I think also, sorry, ZP, go on.
Oh, no, I was gonna say, as anyone knows, like anytime you hear a patch is coming, like I feel like Deadlock has never done a small patch. Like there's points where Yoshi has gone he dropped the announcement, like, guys, small update today. It's like, what do you mean the Rejuvenator completely changed in this patch? Like, what's going on? So, and any patch announcement at Deadlock usually is a seismic shift historically.
It's an alpha game, ZP. You got to stay on your toes, or you can't be expecting comfort and stability. I don't want no change as Deadlock. It's not the spirit of it, right? It's things are going to change quickly and often. And honestly, I got to give some credit to the devs. I feel like they've kind of knocked it out of the park. Like the new heroes have been great. They've slotted in super well. And I think they've been really quick to address balance issues and keep the game feeling fresh. So I'm really excited for that pace of change. And I'm never mad at like bigger shifts that just encourage you to kind of learn and develop a new meta.
I'm excited for a potential next seismic shift, as long as I don't have to deal with Bebop in any of my games anymore, because his entire kit is so annoying for me right now. He's hooking me, he's healing, he's able to do everything. But anyway, let's take a look at the bracket for today. As previously mentioned by ZP, of course, we will have No Mercy filling in for that Lowkey W position, going up against Leviathan to start things off, and the winner will, of course, go up against the Titan that is Abrahams. Over in North America, Floormen go up against Bird with Clock, aka the previous Bunny with Clock, and they're going to be going up against Melee Creeps. But suffice to say, ZP, both regions do have their kings for a substantial amount of time so far.
It has been the longest time in Deadlock history. If you look back at Deadlock in the past, it used to be for NA, it was the Hydra Nation show, but they would drop one every 4 or 5 weeks, do a roster revamp, come back. And then EU, we had a period of true parity for a period of time where even though Buff and Joyers was the most winning team, they were really trading off with Abrahams and one win, and it was kind of a holy trinity. But going into 2026, this has been the year of extended dominance, and it's put more pressure on the challengers to finally come up with a winning formula. Still looking for it, even though there have been a few days where Abrahams and Melee Creeps have been taking the 3.
It's a bit of a toughie to try and crack them, that is for sure. Jake, I mean, when it comes to Abrahams dropping some maps here and there, or falling behind here and there, it has been off the back of some interesting drafts. So if Abrahams is kind of really taking those series very seriously, I think it's difficult to really topple them.
Yeah, I mean, it's been a long time since someone's given them that really serious challenge. I think we kind of saw that with them going for like an ulti 7 build. Not that that's unwinnable, like they were able to win some fights and have some opportunities in that match, but they're getting creative. They're trying to experiment. They're trying to push the envelope because they don't really feel under threat from these other teams. So it's up to teams like Leviathan, I think, has to be your favorite in the challenger match, since they've had some mixed success so far in the night shift, kind of looked like that second best team in EU, but they need more challengers, right? It's always about having that more competition to continue to push players forward. That being said, for Leviathan, I got always a lot of respect for players like Fremont on the frontliner. I think he's looked really good, especially on the Shiv, has some really nice movement, is be able to tangle with the best of them when it comes to getting that crucial meta pick online. And then also I'm looking at players like OCs to have a really big carry performance and to be able to kind of guide the team through those late game fights. So many threats you got to deal with in a game like Deadlock. It goes beyond any individual, but this whole team, I think, has the potential to step up. The question is the consistency. That's where Abrahams, it just feels like, other than when they're maybe getting a little silly, they just don't really give you any ground to work with when push really comes to shove.
For sure. ZP, your thoughts for Leviathan?
Yeah, I mean, I think for Leviathan, the biggest story for me in recent times has been the fact that at one point, the star player for Leviathan would have been seen as Empty Dreams, and they end up doing a change up to Rayek, where Rayek, when he went in the sub for them originally, looked incredible. It was one of the strongest weeks that Leviathan had, and now they've retooled a little bit more. They've gotten OCs to the roster where, while we haven't quite seen peak OCs in a while, in part because of a shifting meta, OCs is one of the players that really impressed when he came onto the scene back in the Trolley tournament, of just being a player that kind of understood farm and how to get really ahead of the game at a high level. So to me, I think they've probably bolstered a little bit if Ray can continue playing at a high level, where I think especially in roles that are more playmaker oriented, Ray looked really good. I think at times above what Empty Dreams was bringing. And, is it all the pieces you need necessarily to take down Abrahams? Maybe not, but it is more threatening as time has gone on.
Yeah, it's a good question. OCOs, of course, being back on the roster. I think his Mirage looked good last week. I think that when he was playing the Geist going up against that slightly strange 7 Abraham situation, I think that looked fantastic against them. And then, unfortunately, the Mina in the very last game against Abrahams, once they decided, you know what, let's maybe go back to the norm, back to the basics, didn't look as great. But we'll see if it kind of works on out today for them, as they're going to go up against No Mercy, who I have a few familiarity with some of these players. Of course, we had Bobby in some of the kind of night shifts only just a few weeks ago, of course, after the replacement actually did go down here. But Jake, this is going to be maybe an uphill struggle for No Mercy, even though we're hearing that they've had some decent scrims against what Leviathan's bringing.
Yeah, I mean, this is their first time, I think, playing in that competition for everyone except Bobby. And even Bobby, isn't the most experienced player, was still a pretty fresh face, as recently as a couple of weeks ago. And so, of course, I do think they're the underdogs in this match. That being said, there's a big difference in whether even if let's say they don't win the challenger match, I still want to see like a big performance out of players. I want to see that they can compete at this level. I think there's a huge gap between getting like blown out in the laning phase and you just don't even get to play Deadlock versus actually going to the late game, getting to these crucial, highly complex team fights around late game objectives, and being able to stick into a deeper match against Leviathan would already be something impressive for them to go home with and to start to build on as a team, right? It's always from humble beginnings. It's for now, these are new players, fresh faces and names, but this is their opportunity to make an impression, not only on us, of course, and the other players on the scene, but the community too.
ZP?
Yeah, I think one thing that's worth noting too, in terms of how competitive this team will likely be as you look at the game, is that if you're even able to hang out in the lane phase, you're doing something that very few teams are able to do. In Night Shift history, we've had a few times over in NA where we've taken a chance on a team that maybe doesn't have the biggest competitive history, and the reality is that the game is often over by 20 minutes even before. And it doesn't look close because there is a certain requisite level of skill in Deadlock to even survive to do and execute some of the tactical things in the game that we often talk about, whether it be rotations, us up for earned fight, etc. All of that is completely irrelevant if you get mechanically gapped in the lane phase. And we've had teams full of Eterna 6 players that have come in to a Night Shift but are far below on the organized level and they get blown away. I don't think that's going to be the case for No Mercy. Also worth noting, I'd have to double check, but people are mentioning Arian goes back to the Lodos days. I've definitely seen the name before, so that probably checks out. But outside of Bobby and Arian, there's a lot of unknown factors here, at least as far as competitive play goes. So I'm pretty excited to see how they match up. This is always the case where some of these players may have a pocket hero, no pun intended, that has greater impact than expected. And suddenly it turns out, well, gee, we probably should have banned that away from them, but we just lost our best one, and we'll have to think about it next week. So that is an advantage that a more unknown team has in these sorts of situations.
That is fair. That is fair. And I see a lot of it in the chat as well. The wiki and fikis. So we need a wiki fiki spam at some point throughout all of this. But Schmorf comes in with $100. Let the games begin. Good luck, fellas, and enjoy the show, everybody. So thank you very much for those donations. To remind everyone, all the donations, 100% of them goes to the players throughout the night. So as I said, we're gathering round for a tale to be told for a Deadlock here for Night Shift number 28. Your storytellers will be Jake and ZP once we get to those games for Europe, and it's going to be a damn good time, that's for sure. So, what do we surely we have a 1v1. Are we back to the Mo 1v1 ZP? Is that what we're doing?
Yes, if it is ready to go, and it is. We got
Tried
this about 2 minutes before broadcast. By the way, team swap, I did not have the teams do the Mo 1v1, and they just did it live 2 seconds ago. Nice. And this is a thinking man's Mo 1v1.
Yeah, they're feeling each other out, playing. Wow, okay, fully mirrored interaction. So far, they've basically done exactly the same things on one another. Slight healthy, but the parry just always back-breaking. And Bobby just double parry back to back. So, all right. Oh, and a triple. Okay. Newcomers send a message in that Mo 1. So, okay, No Mercy. Bobby steps up big time, going to get them pick control. But will that be enough to get them the draft advantage? This, I think, is going to be a key test where drafting is not something you can be very, very strong in matchmaking, but you may not have thought through all the permutations of a draft. And I think this is a real test for teams that are getting their first chance here in the Night Shift.
It also felt like ZP that some of Leviathan's bans to start things off were very targeted against other teams, like the Drifter against Lowkey. But actually, they're going to go the Drifter this time anyway as well.
Drifter has grown a lot, I think, in popularity, right? From there was a while where I just think he was kind of unpicked, untouched. People just didn't know how to make him work. And I think people have started to find the niche that makes sense of a hybrid between has the carry potential, but he's also great at punishing off lanes. Okay, but that means Celeste goes through, and presumably does Leviathan want to pick it? Now there's a question of like, hey, everyone's first banning Celeste. How many teams are actually really ready to pull it out and to make it a key part of their strat?
Is it GA'd though, is the question. Are we going to see Celeste? And okay, we see Silver first, so it might be GA'd. Because I think Leviathan was the GA originators last time around. Well, we'll see if it comes back the other way. But okay, Silver gets picked for Leviathan, and all the drafts recently have been frontline heavy. So for No Mercy, you have to expect that you're going to hear, so you needed a monster. It's going to be Shiv coming in all likelihood, plus Abrams. Abrams first in this case, and could be Billy, could be Shiv. We'll see. But this is usually what you expect at the beginning of a draft.
I kind of would like a Billy here. I guess Shiv would be the more common pick, but I almost feel like for Leviathan, Shiv Silver while there's a lot of damage in that front line, it would lack some control, but they are just going to go with the classic here, Shiv Abrams. I mean, the execute is quite nice, I will say, for bursting down the silver, and Shiv doesn't rely on his gun. He's less worried about the disarm when it comes to that 1v1.
I think a lot of pros I speak to now, though, they feel like silver is a great answer to Shiv, right? As well, being able to get in the face. Celeste's going to come through.
Okay, it's not
already, ZP.
Yeah, it is not GA. Celeste is real. You would have thought it would be. I mean, getting to the 4th overall pick is a little bit ridiculous. But the circus has come into town.
Night shift. I mean, it's been banned so much. It's maybe played once.
I don't play it. I don't have the tactical nuke in NA where he got airdropped as being super fed. Like we had that once. The interesting thing here, if you're No Mercy, I feel like you ban Billy. Like, I get getting Paradox as a more priority pick here, where, generally the consensus playmaker, like top-tier playmaker over Holiday and Bebop. But if you're No Mercy, you can punish this now with a ban on the Billy.
Yeah, I think it's Billy. They could consider something like a pocket ban, but just to protect stuff like Shiv. But maybe you're not so scared about pocket. You already have Holiday and Abrams. Like, you get one solid stun on pocket, and the chain stun is going to be there. You're going to be able to punish him and kill him. So maybe you think you can play against it, but they're going to ban it this time. So allowing the Billy through, although actually No Mercy they could go back for the Billy. It would be pretty devious to have triple frontliner. That would be more all in on the front line than we have seen, I think, in quite some time. But to your point, ZP, it's like, what's the other option for Leviathan if they don't get a ban?
Geist. I think you probably go Geist at a minimum if you're looking to shore up your front line. Or, I mean, at times we have seen teams go front line, not as heavy, but it's been a really long time. I mean, usually teams would compensate by running multiple playmakers. You don't really have that in play with Holiday being picked. I mean, you could go Bebop, but instead No Mercy is just going to go Mina. So maybe this suggests to me that, Leviathan kind of realized, okay, we can pick Billy a little bit later because they have scrimmed against this team. You have a little bit of draft history, and maybe they just realized they could pick up Billy a little bit later in the draft.
I mean, is this just Billy Mirage? Is that what Leviathan goes to here? Oh, okay. Their choice of...
They really value the Rem here. I'm honestly surprised to see Rem because there's a lot of good support still in the pool. And so to pick Rem here instead of both Billy and Mirage, I agree. I think that would have been a very solid next two to draft. The question is basically kind of for me is where do they go carry-wise? Maybe they don't have the front line for Mirage. Maybe to ZP's point, you might need to go something a little bit more brawly like a Geist or a Warden. But Rem and Billy does give them like a very solid counter initiation, a very solid way to start the fight. There's also characters like Lash kind of hovering around here that I think could be pretty strong for either team. And No Mercy go Graves. Okay, Graves this is a distinct improvement because Graves was untouched for a couple weeks, like no picks, no bans, no one playing it. Maybe the Creeps made it look really strong with Fishcake. They had like a Kelvin Graves draft. I wouldn't mind Kelvin as the finisher here for No Mercy. I mean, the Dome could be pretty brutal for a frontliner like Billy, but they go Page instead. So maybe valuing some more of the catch and lockdown that Page offers rather than the team fight potential of the Dome.
I'm looking at this and I kind of wonder if No Mercy even likes playing Mirage. Because if Leviathan gets last pick Mirage, I feel like there's a little bit of intel underpinning it. And okay, they do go last pick Mirage. That feels a little bit calculated by whatever history these teams might have against each other, because getting Mirage this late into the draft is a little bit unprecedented. Also, in terms of how No Mercy is set up, they're not necessarily going to have the carry power in the late game that you would normally have if you had something on the Mirage or Warden, sort of Spectrum or Venator, who of course got taken down immediately. They're really going to be pushing macro advantage with Graves and, hoping their front line just keeps them ahead of the game. But it's a little bit risky because the Leviathan late game to me looks terrifying.
It feels like for me, based on the draft, and once they saw Mina go through, they felt comfortable to go for the Rem and the Billy and less leave the Mirage till later because Mina was already on the other side, right? And they thought maybe that was going to be the player that would have flexed onto whatever Mirage would have been if they were going to take it away. So it kind of makes sense to me that the Rem came in when it did and the Mirage comes a little bit later, Jake.
Yeah, I think it's interesting. In EU, I think they've been a little bit more willing to use Mina as the proper carry. I think it kind of puts you in a bit of a tempo scenario, like you want to snowball the game and stay ahead, but Mina is very adept at that, and that's, I think, where she is the strongest. So putting a bunch of resources, giving her the farm early, letting her snowball, and then trying to just like keep the pace up on the enemy team, it makes a lot of sense to me. Whereas in NA, I think it's been more of these like Spirit nuker players. Think about like Ido playing a lot of Mina, or play it as like an off carry, a semi carry, where you're gonna deal some damage, but you're still gonna run the main carry behind it. So for No Mercy, I think this is a little bit more all in, but Then again, like, I don't like the idea of going to the ultra late game against a team that's more experienced than you in the competitive format anyway. I almost think you have better odds trying to have a dominant laning stage and then, you know, play from ahead, snowball, get some key objectives, and just like kind of blow the game out of the water. Like, I think putting yourself in the position of needing to make a comeback and needing to survive against a more experienced team, for me, doesn't make as much sense. So I actually love the way No Mercy approached this draft. I think it could fail, absolutely. There's no guarantee that it's going to work, but there's a lot of pressure you can put on with Graves tombing the waves, Paige being super active with Holiday, Shiv, Abrams, all want to fight all the time. And even Mina is one of the most active of the carries. So I think the draft definitely has hit a consistent theme, at least.
ZP, in Europe, we have had 2 Celestes so far since her release. We have had 1 loss on the side of Leviathan going up against Lowkey W, and then we had 1 win for Abrahams. What do we see here for this Celeste? I'm feeling pretty good for this Celeste.
I think it's gonna be a win, and I'm glad you brought it up because that was probably gonna be my next point of just okay, we're having really good draft analysis on, you know, late game, early game, and all of this is generally true. But are we undervaluing Celeste's current status of being a walking nuclear bomb balance wise? I mean, players have been very terrified of Celeste for good reason, and they were terrified of Celeste when people really didn't have much time to get good on her. I mean, they were terrified of week 1 Celeste, not now. It's like what, week 3, week 4 Celeste. You know, people have had time to get way better on her movement, min-max her kit even more, and giving up Celeste to me seems a little bit terrifying, especially when the general draft that you have, it's not like No Mercy has an overwhelmingly powerful draft and you look at Leviathan and you go, well, Celeste do better carry. No, it's roughly, you know, even to arguably Leviathan advantage before you take into account the Celeste.
All right, well, let's get to it. Allow ZP and Jake to weave what is going to be Leviathan going up against No Mercy. It's night shift number 28, and we will see this Celeste put it to work. Boys, take it away.
As we get into this one, ZP, I kind of want to root for No Mercy. I want to see a competitive game here. I'm always excited to see new players coming onto the scene and making a name for themselves, but you're right. They've signed up for a very tough challenge, matching up against what is, I think, the community accepted very best character in the game right now in Celeste. So to give that up in their first draft shows a lot of confidence. But I also think, hey, the Paige pick makes more sense in that light. For me, Knockdown is like the best counter item in the game to Celeste. It's the one thing that can actually keep her connected. And Paige is probably the most natural knockdown builder in the entirety of Deadlock, right? Knockdown into Binding Word. Maybe that's enough lockdown, at least in the early and mid game, to set up for Abrams or Holiday to clean up that kill.
You know, you've just kind of taken me and wondering about building names where it's like, it actually should be called Binding Word. Like, it is talking about words, it fits Paige. You know, yeah, it's captivating, but either way.
Oh, I'm mistaken. It's the warden trap is Binding Ward, right? That's what I'm thinking. Yeah, it's the
I think it's Word. I don't think it's Word. Hey, I'm going ridiculous, but also Celeste is already off to her usual stuff. Paige getting the business on the right-hand side. We're also speaking about lanes here, Jake. Didn't get a chance to talk about, but Mina in middle is not something you see all that often. Mina generally side laner, and this time just pairing up with Holiday in the mid. That is a full back to base for Balaclava. Not something you see ultra often.
I gotta say, that's a laning issue, man. Celeste Silver is a devastating lane. There's so much pressure that they can put on in the side lane. Paige Shiv is like, I guess, a decent pairing to match up against, but you're really just trying to survive the lane, where typically Paige Shiv wants to be active and aggressive. I don't think we're gonna see that in this particular lane.
Also, you look at the contest here where Mina just wants a bit of the mini creeps and absolutely going in with Holiday. Mirage, a bit of a world of hurt down the half HP. Paradox, though, again, way more damage onto the Holiday.
Oh, Mina
take a look here at Mosquito ends up getting away.
Yeah, huge escape, but Mina is a very challenging hero to take those kind of early laning trades against. This is not when Mirage is strong in the game at all. So that's actually exactly what No Mercy want, is these sorts of trades. Mina's going to be able to steal away this small camp too. I mean, it's a small victory, right? It's not going to change too much in the game. A little counter pressure is going to force out the Sanguine, which is nice to be able to put some extra damage onto the Mina, maybe make her think about a more passive second item selection here. As I say that, hold on, the pressure continuing to unfold in the mid lane. Holiday basing. Is that proc from Mirage going to be enough? It is, just barely from OC, stacked it up enough. Okay, so can't see Meow a little bit overconfident. Understandably, I didn't think he was going to die in that scenario either, but Sai and OC is reading the scenario perfectly.
That was a very, very thin margin, but also, I mean, even though you've done scrims, it does feel like a little bit of a rough baptism to just how decisive laning at this level can be. I mean, you think you've given up just a little bit of an advantage, and the punish is pretty damn severe. Barrel 10 coming on in. Paradox not thinking too much of it. And what's going on between Silver and Shiv on the right-hand side? Silver was going pretty deep for boxes into the No Mercy side was Freemock, and a little bit of a skirmish alongside Wiki for just a moment there. And what's been kind of a back and forth lane on the right-hand side.
Honestly, this lane is kind of a beatdown over here. Silver and Celeste are pretty far ahead of their counterparts. Maybe a total about 1,000 to 1,500 souls. But hold on, a counter kill could really change that. Celeste has to come in here and maybe bail out Silver, who's already got the heal creep. She doesn't have another heal left, and the Holiday roam here is going to be good for the kill. Fremont goes down. Asquito, great roam, and then in a lane that really particularly needed. Here comes Paradox, though. The counter roam is going to be enough maybe to bring down Holiday, but if it doesn't, then it's a really nice econ return here for No Mercy, kind of keeping them back into this laning phase. Still so many lit players across the map. It's going to be hard for them to continue fighting.
People sometimes wonder, hey, when's the best time to mix in heavy melee for your movement? You just saw it there where it was the difference between getting hit just one more time, which would have been a kill, and that last little bit of burst of speed out of line of sight to free Asquito from what would have been certain depth. So the early Holiday roam, not too bad, but as you look at the general state of the game, it is No Mercy swimming upstream a little bit here so far, Jake. Still 3K behind, and a little bit of a back to base now for Rake. But is going to be coming back as a Celeste that is soon to have Shining Wonder, which is all sorts of problematic early in lane.
Yeah, this Rem Billy lane can put on a ton of pressure on that early Guardian. Rem, very annoying character. To take that Guardian would be a huge deal. That being said, once Graves gets this tomb, I think it's really going to change that. But a big lasso, max range onto OC should set up an easy kill for Can't Say Meow. So Asquito, man, doing everything in this early game. The roams have been on point. He survived that one, comes back in, kills Mirage in the mid. So pretty fantastic performance from the Holiday of No Mercy to kind of keep these lanes manageable. I mean, still a slight lead for Leviathan, but these kills add up, and this is, you're feeding souls to exactly the player who needs them, which is the Mina.
Also a bit of a lane swap here. You have Freemock going over towards middle, and instead you're going to be going right-hand side for Leviathan with Sai and Rayek as a lane swap up here, right as ults come online. So we'll see what benefit Leviathan gets from that. I think it may have been a swap of opportunity just based on how people are rotating and saying, hey, it just makes more sense to change lanes rather than do a full rotation and lose out on a little bit of pressure.
Yeah, Billy taking this fight. With the Graves tomb down, you kind of maybe find your way in for the melees, but Abrams defending the tomb incredibly well. Trying to pull people in, but into the Graves line there is not going to be a fight you really want to take, and the Billy front line is just untouchable here. Still, Irizumi slips around and finds the kill onto Graves nonetheless. So Leviathan taking a ton of damage in that trade, but it's enough to get the kill on the Graves. And Billy and Rem continue to snowball this advantage.
I see Mina.
See how active the roams get here, where Freemock maybe looking towards Can't Say Meow in the chat, where I haven't looked at chat at all because, well, casting, you don't generally want to do that as a thing, but I have to feel like in terms of player names, I would immediately get a fan reaction. Can't Say Meow would probably be up there. I mean, you've hit the cat card, Jake, which generally is pretty effective for people as now we see
Billy
just pushing forward on the left.
But a parry onto the Abrams might be enough to get him out of trouble there. And the Rising Ram pulls him further away, just out of range from that Abrams ulti. There's a nice initiation from Bobby to pull Billy deep under tower, but that just shows how incredibly tanky he is with the life strike, with the Rem behind him. Lot of assists, lot of shields and saves if you try and come in on that fight. Here comes a brawl here in the side lane. Looks like the Shining Wonder does miss, though. Shiv dashed away from that one. It's going to be pretty huge. And once again, look, Asquito involved at the perfect moment here on the Holiday. Finds the kill on the side. A beautiful lasso. Chains in onto the Celeste. And this Holiday is taking over the game. No Mercy are right back into the fight with those kills.
Also, if you haven't played a bunch of Holiday, it's worth noting that it is very easy for those to turn into rough plays. Lasso is on an incredibly long cooldown. Every lasso counts, and so far, Asquito has been making use of lassos. However, overstays the welcome, gets hit with the carbine into the Twister. And that's a quick dispatch where you just got to respect the 6-minute zips. People come back a lot sooner than you may think.
Yeah, all good things have to come to an end, but honestly, not the worst death, right? Get the HP reset, you're gonna be back in the fight, and yeah, the Paradox swap had to come in to get the kill on you. And Mosquito, I mean, he's not, I don't think, worried about his personal game, you know, taking some deaths here and there. I think it's much more about his ability to be there to set up other players. The captivating read, this time it misses the Silver, who's continuing to force some trades with the life strike, just being so obnoxious onto this Mina, who forced a Sanguine away. And that should secure a nice quick Sinners there for the Silver. So she's really leveraging her early advantage in this stage of the game. Freakmark getting a lot done.
Nap time coming on out for No Mercy, looking to change things here in the left-hand side. Leviathan backing up a little bit, just see Rem. A little bit of extra support. Into the tower we go. Up and over as Graves gets caught in the crossfire. Leviathan making some moves on the left-hand side.
Yeah, the rotation from OCs, I mean, typically, I think we see Mirage as a character that wants to hit a much later power spike and to be more active deeper into the game, but not this game, man. He's been showing up to a ton of fights, hasn't been scared to participate, starting to build up the advantage. I mean, they know, I think, that they have a very strong late game, and they're willing to still push the tempo given this early game soul lead. So Mirage continuing into this fight. Abrams, pin miss here, not able to even get away. Billy on the lockdown here, and that's going to be another kill going the way of Mirage.
Yeah, places where Bobby perhaps should not have been there and just or rather underestimated the danger. And, you know, the scary thing here, and we kind of talked about, is that when you're a new team going against a team that's a little bit more veteran in Deadlock, getting out of the early lane phase in one piece is a problem. And already Leviathan nearly 7K ahead, which is just about the threshold to have advantage earned for No Mercy. Looking at Skeeto, though. Lasso, good to go here once more. Paradox in his sights, one more barrel. Up and over, does not want to commit here so far. Realized that Billy and Rem were in the area. Would have been a bad idea. Bobby, meanwhile, though, charge into Freemock. Freemock gonna go down. This thing's heat up once more on the right-hand side.
Yeah, a great knockdown there. Assuming that's from Balaclava. Gotta be on the page buying it this early. Sets up the pin. Bobby knocks it down, finding these kills. So despite the soul advantage, it feels like the skirmish kills have almost been favoring No Mercy. Maybe Leviathan playing more efficiently in this early game. But they've definitely got the skills to hang into this game as a side Guardian goes down, and thinks better of going for more. Was a little bit scared to dive deep on this one, and finally a lasso misses. Page ult, though, keeps the fight going. Wiki is here, able to find a kill onto Sai, and they're just continuing this brawl. Tons of numbers here for No Mercy. I believe 4 players in this fight. But the pop is brutal there from the Mirage, enough to finish off Shiv, and Abrams, caught dead to right, just has to waste time against Rig.
Also, the terrible thing for No Mercy is that the urn was neutral on pickup. Easy turn in now for overseas. So, you know, there's a point where you can argue if you're close to advantage urn, you actually kind of throw a little bit before picking up the urn. If there's resources on the map, you wait a little bit to grab them just so you can have advantage urn, because the alternative is where you're at now, where the lead is way more severe. And that Leviathan was able to not only get a small skirmish win, but also get neutral urn on top of it. And you know, for No Mercy, it may only look like 12K, but it's a pretty big difference as we see Nox Nostra in over the top here for Can't Say Meow. A little bit harassed, but nothing coming out of it yet.
Almost completely evaded by Freemock, who's trying to get this Lycan farm popped, and yeah, I think Holiday recognizes there's not going to be a way to turn this kill around. Silver's so tanky in this form. The knockdown is going to hit, but the chain is good onto Mina. Not enough for the kill just yet, but the melee connects at absolutely max range from Freemock. Continuing on this kill streak on Silver. And that's Can't Say Meow going down. Wiki dies elsewhere on the map, and the game's EP is starting to look pretty scary for No Mercy as teamfight after teamfight goes the way of Leviathan.
OCs reminding me of the glory days where OCs was usually the richest man on the server. 14K as Mirage at 12 minutes in. That is terrifying, because one of the downsides of playing Mirage is that Mirage usually isn't much of a threat until later in the game, but now looking very threatening. Celeste going in, another anvil dropped on her head, just part of being in the circus anytime you're up against a Celeste. We'll see where this goes. Swap now onto Bobby. Celeste there, Shining Wonder out, and Abrams is getting the business taken down at the very end.
Man, Celeste ult just cooks you at this point in the game. Like, just feels like you can't fight into that ulti if it does go off. Bobby feels the brunt of it.
I'm back.
Lost CP? No, are you back, CP?
I'm back. I've returned. It was a momentary disruption.
All right, I think we're good to continue. And I mean, man, the game is starting to look a little scary. I don't think it's out of control just yet, but I feel like kind of up to Mosquito. I mean, he's been doing so much so far. It doesn't feel fair to ask for more from the Holiday. But I think he needs to find some of these key fights, continue on that spree of big lassos, get some key kills, especially somebody like OC's, right? We talked about 16K Mirage. You really need to shut him down soon because he might just hit that level where you're no longer able to threaten him. He's just the turret in the back line, and you're trying to worry about Celeste and Silver up in your face, running at you, but the real threat is Mirage just cooking you down from the back.
I think in terms of team comps, one thing I would look at here for No Mercy is that part of the reason why you'd play Graves is that you can, ideally get somewhat of an advantage macro-wise with Graves if you don't just get run down in lane, which appears to be the case. A little bit of disruption for Bobby, but absolutely not enough to free Arian, where ideally for Graves, Jake, you're hoping for a situation where you get disproportionate rotations to deal with you. But that's not the rotation you're looking for, where your Graves just gets run over.
Yeah, I mean, it's tough in this game, right? There's so much mobility on the Leviathan side, and now that they have the advantage, I mean, Graves is a hero who excels at running down opponents, at fighting them when they're locked down, but when she herself is under threat, right, that 2-stam limit really hurts, right? It's very hard to get out when you sometimes step up for those plays.
Going to shop.
Jake, it's actual hydrogen bomb versus coughing baby when you talk about Celeste mobility versus Graves mobility, which makes it even funnier that they were within the same week on the hero release schedule. Or thereabouts. I think they were a weak group because you had Ven in between the two, but
yeah, the superior stam is such a big pickup for Celeste. And I like this build. I mean, he's hit the 4.8k spirit spike, but is investing heavily in the tankiness, in the mobility with a lot of green items. Recognizes, I think he doesn't need any more damage that the kit already provides. Just wants to get in their face and, okay, brings out the lockdown, brings out the captivating read, but Paige cannot fight this and she just has to run for the hills. Celeste is happy to bully her out and away, and I mean, just abuse the movement. Even Mina can't keep up. I think that is kind of showing like why this hero is so prioritized at the top level of play. You just cannot catch her.
It was kind of funny. We talked with Ido at the end of the last night shift, and we're talking a little bit about Celeste, and I was just like, look, Celeste, this is the Spirit WM1 character. It's one character that can go full Spirit and run you down in the same way that you would expect something like a Venator or a Warden or Wraith to run you down. But captivating read out, OC's getting this picture to be big. You get the Nux Nostra providing a little bit of movement, but the damage just isn't there. And instead, it's going to be Can't Say Meow. A little bit of a sanguine out as OC's looks to shake the pressure.
Tomb could be nice here, but it feels like the damage is going the other way. Great parry onto the Silver from Mina. That might be enough for the kill, and it is. Can't Say Meow absolutely reads the play. Beautiful parry on the quick melee. And still, despite the individual prowess there, it still feels like a scary trade. It still feels like a fight that kind of shows how hard this game already is for No Mercy, because they lose the right side walker in exchange for basically a 1-for-1 that only comes out of a parry.
Going to be picked up by Leviathan, and the one thing you see in pro play where we have a lot of people who watch Night Shift in part because they want to get better at their own games, and the biggest difference in these games is people prioritize earn. It doesn't matter, like you never give up free earn unless you get a massive trade in turn. But we're looking at some Celeste play over, and the movement is just ridiculous. On to the Mina now. Can't Say Meow, maybe about to say an ow at a very minimum as Celeste easily chases it down.
Yeah, Celeste and Silver, just demons on the chase right now, and assisted by the Rem. Graves trying to man up, knows that she has no chance to take that jump pad, would just get instantly knocked there. 3 players on the deck now, and Mosquito just on a sliver of HP, has to just get out of this one, but it's not to be. Irizomi hunts it down, and this could be mid-boss on the cards. Rem's beelining it, making the call. The rest of the team following behind. Lanes are in a decent spot as well. And this one could be over before it's really begun, ZP. OC's on 21k. I wonder if we can get an item check on this Mirage because he is a demon. That being said, probably not just yet. I assume there will be a mid-boss contest here. No Mercy. Players posturing in the area.
Well, you have to go for a miracle. Chain Gang, though, coming on out with Captivating Read. 2 rejuves the way of Leviathan. 3rd one finally captured, and it is going to be a full team wipe against No Mercy one way or another. Even if they drain some of the rejuve charges, the difference in stats between the two teams is absolutely wild. And you have OC's. This is a 21k Mirage just plugging away immense damage. You talk about item check here. It's about to get so much worse here, Jake, where after this fight, it's going to be the power spike into Ricochet.
Yeah, he's going to just teleport away, fix waves as well. Ricochet probably going to be a quick buy here before they go for this next siege. And this is the moment where Mirage, this is the beginning of when Mirage starts to get scary, and he's already hitting it at 17 minutes. So for Mirage to be at this soul count this early in the game, especially with the rejuves that are going to cover him to go for a very aggressive buy like the Ricochet right now, I mean, this is a really rough spot to be. I mean, he's probably one of the better pushing heroes in the game when it's this kind of game state. And it feels like for No Mercy, I mean, how do you even get on the back line, right? You're already so worried about Celeste and Silver and Billy just running at you that thinking about someone like Mirage is a luxury you almost can't afford.
Also, you have so little win conditions, especially when Rejuve is up. Like, one thing you'd always look to is, okay, you have a Holiday, maybe you get a Lasso pick and go from there. I'll tell you, with how long Lasso cooldown is, nothing feels worse than playing Holiday into a team that has Rejuve, because even if you get the greatest Lasso ever, generally speaking, it's just going to be the signal for the rest of the team to dive on you while the Rejuve is in process, and you still get wiped. So the win conditions left remaining for No Mercy at this point in the game are very, very minimal, and you just get counterspelled on top of it. The Lasso comes out, just immediately handled, and it gets worse.
Honestly, I think he just missed it too. Like, the counterspell came out, but I didn't hear it proc. And then, oh, okay, the Shining Wonder also misses, though. I mean, both players trying to hit each other, doing some crazy movement tricks. But in the end, to your point, I feel like Celeste doesn't necessarily need that ulti the way Holiday does to participate in the fight. Here she comes, just diving forward with the primary skills. Arian just goes down, deleted, mobility gapped to the nth degree on Graze right now. And still with Mirage across the map, Leviathan are playing with absolutely zero fear, sieging a Walker, going for Shiv and Abrams under it. I mean, there's no respect, no quarter being given. Is this an overextension for Leviathan? I mean, hard to even argue that with the triple Rejuve they're relying on.
I mean, triple Rejuve, you're playing with house money. It is very difficult to screw up to the point that you're going to throw the game. A little bit of extra nap time for Paige, and yeah, I mean, you look at the game state, you've lost one Rejuve, and you have to deal with Nuclear Terror, Rayake, and OCs that's closer to 30k than not. This is over, Jake.
I hope you guys have enjoyed seeing Celeste on the night shift, because if any other teams are watching this, I'm pretty sure this is the last you're going to see. I mean, Rayake is just styling on this game. I mean, OCs is a huge threat that's like securing the late game, but honestly, I just don't even see us getting there based on the way this one's going on. Skeeto with some tricky moves to slide around the corner from that one. Nice movement tech from him, but OCs into the waiting arms of Mirage, not where you want to find yourself.
I mean, you just have to wonder at this point, what does even getting a pick-off look like for No Mercy? And it's a little bit difficult because you just saw your Shiv get run down in melee by a Celeste that simply isn't dying. A Celeste that's taking left hooks from Abrams and is simply shrugging it off while dancing to the side and getting rescue beamed by a rat.
That cost one stam, what she just did. It cost one stam, by the way. Crossing the map. There's a rescue beam too. But it's safe to say Celeste is a pretty good hero in the hands of an experienced player, and escalating is going to be the next buy. Can't Say Meow gets hunted down by Irizumi with a couple other players assisting, and looks like an aggressive earn run to add insult to injury here. Leviathan leaving nothing to chance. It is a BO1. You do not want to throw a single fight away and give No Mercy a way back into the game, but doesn't seem to be much of that available. Billy can't immediately go for the dunk with the rest of his team across the map, but even just holding the urn and not being run at here is a statement in the confidence that Leviathan has, and the fear, frankly, that No Mercy has to play with given this hold disadvantage.
Yeah. Also, when you look back at the draft, I just remind everyone that Celeste did not get first picked in this instance. Celeste got picked in the second round of picks for Leviathan. No Mercy, they went Shiv Abrams. They let the Celeste just sit there. It was Silver that actually got first picked, but now Billy's going to get perhaps a little bit more backup and an anvil dropped on his head. The one thing that Paige has been remarkably consistent on all game, usually targeted towards Celeste, but hasn't done too much to actually stop the relentless dive-in that you're able to do as a Celeste that's this farmed ahead of the game.
Yeah, I mean, you just have such an aggressive triple threat with Silver, Billy, and the Celeste, and then you have Rem backing that up, Mirage in the backline too. So it's just like the full strategy here from Leviathan is so well thought out. A dunk comes in from Billy. He is going to get that secure. Going to try and back up for now. Rejuves have expired. You got to be a little bit worried about an overextension, but Billy, absolutely no fear of overextension. He's not in the dictionary for a Billy player, as he's not losing HP. He is absolutely turbo running down this Graves with the assistance of a Rem. OCs finds two in the fight. The sleep comes in to set up a heavy now. And yeah, the Walker, it's not going to protect you for long. The full disrespect dive is coming in. And even Abrams is going to drop completely. Oh, wait, as I say that, the pillow? It is going to be enough to zone him away. And I mean, it's a 6-0. Really tells the entire story, doesn't it, ZP?
Yeah, I mean, realistically, too, No Mercy, you may be looking at it being like, hey, No Mercy, they're getting rolled over now. At this point in the game, there's not much you can do to the point that Bobby is just out of there.
Damn,
I'll
the
say this.
GG call. I honestly...
I want to give credit to No Mercy. They filled in short notice when Lowkey W exploded. We are incredibly grateful for the short nose fill and the fact that they have been doing well behind the scenes. But when you come in here competitively, it is it's a different environment at this level of play, and we kind of see just how good Leviathan looked in this situation. Although now, Sai just pieced out too. They got to finish it with.
He's like, you guys don't need me. You guys got this one. And honestly, though, I agree this game was completely over. I don't think this is an early GG by any means. No. I also think, to be honest, the early laning phase wasn't bad for No Mercy. Like, on an individual level, I feel like that's the point in the game where it's much more individualistic. Can the players hang, like, in terms of their skill in the lanes, their ability to find those early roams? And I think the answer was yes to that. Ultimately, I think there's two real big culprits here. It's that Leviathan got a bonkers draft, getting both Celeste and Silver in the same lane, no less. They like dominate the lane, they snowball the game from there. Like, it's an ultra premium draft to be able to get. And on top of that, once we got to the phase of the game where, like, the team setups and playing the macro game became more important, I think OC's really gapped on the Mirage, had so much done. I can't say Meow also had a pretty sick game on the Mina. It was one of the key playmakers, but it's just the layers of threats coming in from the experienced team on Leviathan that earned them the win.
Well, that was tough. That was tough, unfortunately, for No Mercy, as I think there was just too many threats to deal with, right? I mean, even if you look at I think that they did all right, as Jake is kind of suggesting in the early game, dealing with Freemok a little bit, ZP, but there's just too many threats. When Rick is getting going like that, got Spirit Lifesteal, got Dazzling Trick, got Torment Pulse, got Shining Wonder, running you down, being able to escape even if he doesn't get the kill as well, like, that is brutal to deal with.
Yeah, I mean, the draft didn't help. I feel like on some level you had good old-fashioned, by the fundamentals, Deadlock being played by No Mercy. I would say that, look, we're going to watch them again. I'm going to be looking closely at players like Mosquito, who made Holiday look fantastic in the early and mid-game. Not that Holiday is bad at all. I mean, clearly Holiday is still often picked, but you see the grabs like there, just a lasso, right timing, right moment, was big on some of the early game roams. And No Mercy, even though they fell a little bit behind in the laning phase, they didn't get blown out. And there are things to look forward to on this roster. I think what really bit them in the end is that, A, you're still dealing with way more experience against Leviathan, who are going to leverage it in a higher stakes match. And then also, look, we kind of called it at the beginning, but this draft was pretty ambitious out of No Mercy. You give up the Celeste and you go in on the Graves instead of picking up something like Mirage that was available at that point in the draft. I think those two things probably sealed the deal against No Mercy, in addition to the actual execution of the game.
Yeah, the fact that OC's gets his Mirage that deep into something like this, and I think for OC's, looking at his Mirage over the last couple of weeks, it is probably his best era at the moment, looking really, really strong. But Jake, when you kind of play this out as well, we got to see how the Celeste was actually going to play properly, and seeing this build play out. I mean, the fact that we have so much of an early investment, level 3 into Lighty, Eater, you've got that spell scaling as well with all of this build. It goes to show you only need the 8 bounces to be able to put people in the grave.
Yeah, right. And honestly, I think ultimately, like, there's a lot of issues with the draft. You look back, I mean, ultimately this is Billy Mirage, I believe, is the last 2 picks in the draft, which it just shouldn't really be happening, right? I think that's like a fundamental problem with the draft phase. You're giving 2 of the top premium heroes in the meta right now as the final picks. So arguably every single character besides Rem is like in that very, very top premium tier where you should only be getting like 2 of those characters in your draft. But that's an area where always, I think, when teams make their early appearances on the night shift, it's just natural that you're going to struggle because you're not ready to compete in a format of drafting that you probably haven't experienced, before, the way most players are playing the game. So understandable situation, understandable way to lose. But I like you said, ZP, some bright spots. Like Mosquito impressed the hell out of me, frankly, in the early game, right? Like the Holiday roams were on point, tons of good fights in the early game, kept Leviathan honest. But the macro play, the team understanding in the draft, it's just a weight too heavy to bear.
I think as well, when you look at kind of even the constrictive style Leviathan was playing in this game, ZP, I mean, it's not only just all of these components firing on all cylinders, really putting a lot of pressure on Irizumi as well, just existing on the right side of this map as Rem, just knowing that he's going to have access to his opponent's sinners at any time he wants as well, just lurking around there for so long until those team fights come along. It's like, it's just problem on top of problem on top of problem for No Mercy here.
Yeah, I mean, you stop and think about all the things that they had to look at here. You know, objectives on the game. Well, you don't want Celeste to get farmed because Celeste will take over the game. You don't want OCs to get overly farmed because that is the late game carry. And then you still have to, in the back of your head, go, okay, we have to worry about Rem doing Rem BS and being a little bit greedy in terms of taking sinners. You have to worry about the fact that you're still dealing with a Paradox, who is the top tier playmaker in the game right now. If you're looking for a pick hero, Paradox is generally seen as the highest tier over Holiday and Bebop. There's too many threats to deal with here, and I think it was a little bit unrealistic to expect to be able to counter every single one. And all it takes is one of these things getting ahead of the game to suddenly make everything else just feel absolutely miserable to play against.
But don't get too comfortable, Leviathan, as we take a look at the numbers, because you will be going up against Abrahams, and I don't think they're going to be allowing this kind of draft to really play things out. Here's the numbers, Jake. Anything catch your eye?
I mean, how does Celeste have the top objective damage? Just like, I understand the top player damage. Like, I get it, but top objective, I mean, this is egregious. 13k healing. It's just, this character is just like eye test broken. The mobility that he's able to bring to bear is absurd. I mean, he's like behind the enemy walker, and then suddenly he's out on the high ground, and it's cost him 2 stam. I mean, yeah, I think it's safe to say that for the top players in this game, Celeste is just not balanced, and unlikely I think we're going to see any more of her in future drafts. Just it feels like a character that, if I'm honestly surprised people are not picking her first, like when you have the opportunity to pick her first, like prowling her over Silver. Silver is very good too, but Celeste, I think, is, in my eyes, is like in a category of her own. Like, I just don't think there's another character that can do what she does.
Jake, you're going to see the patch notes, and the patch notes is just going to be a graphic of a glue factory from Yoshi, and everyone will know what it means in talking about the upcoming balance patch, maybe. Or, you know, maybe Celeste gets buffed. Either way, I will say this. I feel like if you're playing Celeste, it is the automatic MVP card, because how could it not be?
Is there any surprise?
Not at all, right? Just an absolute beatdown of the game from Rayek, from start to finish, dominated the lane. Took 1 death. I think he died like in the laning phase to that honestly a ridiculous lasso for Mosquito, right? Who like 180 lassoed him. The rest of the game, he's untouchable. He's able to dive in deep, you know, make plays, not playing passive by any stretch of the imagination. And for all the resistance they bring to him, he hasn't lost a point of HP in this fight. He's just so sustainable, willing to come brawl in the front line, willing to follow up. This character felt like a frontliner this game, which you know, for the Spirit Nuker category is completely unique, right? Something like Pocket, you know, a hit and run for sure, can participate in those frontline fights, but no one can do what Celeste does, which is stay in the front line, continue to deal damage, continue to pull aggro and attention, and still get this much done. So a movement masterclass from Rayek. I think this is really the key skill of the hero, is your mastery of the movement system. And we watch one of the best players in the world do it. It looks ridiculous.
Yeah, absolutely. I think you nailed that on the head perfectly in the game when you were telling us about how the pros look at Celeste and saying that she can just run you down and still be doing all the spirit damage in such a brutal and oppressive way. So we've got 2 potential outcomes. Either A, get used to seeing Celeste as MVP, or B, don't get used to seeing Celeste as MVP because it will not make it through the draft when we see these kinds of things play out. That was terrifying, and Rayek made it look fantastic whilst doing so. So that now brings us on to where we sit in Europe. It's a swift 1-0 for Leviathan, as they are going to be going up against Abrahams once again. But as mentioned before, ZP, I don't think we're going to get a roster quite like that go through a draft against good old Abrahams.
No, I think the idea of getting Celeste alone is a little bit optimistic. Getting Celeste and Silver at the same time is a little bit of lunacy. However, maybe it will happen, because Abrahams was kind of vague tweeting, talking about, oh, we have some wild drafts planned. We're talking about the team that brought out the Melee 7, and they put Dimov on it, of all people, to play it. So, you know, for Abrahams, I feel like for them, they're having a little bit more fun with it right now. They know they have a little bit of a lead on other teams, but, you know, some people go, it's like, oh man, you should warn them competitively. It's like, no. If they want to dig their own grave and like actually lose because Leviathan punishes them for a little bit of showboating, all the better as far as an entertainment proc goes. So we'll see what Abrahams has planned.
It's up to hey, if you want to play Ulti 7, man, honestly, I'm so here for it. I'm so down for the Ulti 7. That's like one of my personal favorite builds in Deadlock. It's so silly, but it's so funny to just be in the skybox and cook the entire enemy team with like one button press. But we'll see if it comes out again. I feel like Leviathan put on a real nice showing here, and I wonder if Abrahams, after losing a map last week, are gonna be so willing to take a risk.
Yeah, I mean, they tweeted out after using that 7 that they didn't quite execute the early game right or something to that effect, and it didn't quite go their way overall. It's debatable whether or not it was actually the case, but regardless, whatever Demov plays, Demov wants, and I'm okay with it for all intents and purposes. All right, boys, well, I think we are ready for a break before we have ourselves good old Abrahams going up against Leviathan. I think during this break, we're going to check in on a few highlights from my podcast, The Hyperline, that you guys can go and subscribe to over on YouTube. So big thank you if you do. And then when we return, we are here for the Titan that is Abrahams versus Leviathan.